Hey, what's up, everybody? Breaking news, breaking news. They're saying there's a shooting, active shooter at a hospital. It says initial report says at least 3 people shot, also possible explosive device. And then there's another report of at least 20 victims. I'm trying to see now if we can get some scanner audio because, let me see here. I think this is encrypted. Hmm. Yeah, large police presence.
Not to jump on things that we hear. So we really are trying to take our time and wait for the information to come in officially. But and I do have a little bit of information here, and control room, if you want to let me know if this is something that I can report or not. I just want to make sure this information that I received from our news director. So again, we are following this active situation in southwest Minneapolis?
Southwest Minneapolis. It would be west of 35W, and from what I can tell, south of the lakes. We are just getting some of our first images here. They're getting the shot set up to bring to all of you, but where we can see a large law enforcement presence as well as an ambulance. We see Hennepin County Sheriff's officials out there.
Are we able to pop that up, Brian? Or okay. Yeah, we'll get the shot up for you here in 1 minute. But again, we are just arriving on the scene, as well as law enforcement as well. We're just probably minutes behind them at this point. Yeah. So
again, the call came in. The initial information that we had come in, it was in South Minneapolis. This would be south of the lakes, so almost reaching that South Minneapolis border. Here are the first images that we're getting out of this area. And again, this call came into an address that is a church that also houses a school. And the information that first came in was about some potential shots fired, a shooting of some kind. And again, when we look on this churches and schools website, we can tell that they are scheduled to have students in class at the school housed within this church. What you're seeing right now, apologies for the shaky camera here. Our crews are just getting on the scene, but we can see those look like some sheriff's deputies. Now we see an ambulance here.
Now this scene seems for real.
That scene with the lights on. That's Hennepin Healthcare HCMC ambulance. But you see several sheriff's deputies, several police vehicles out on the scene right now, and a portion of that road taped off with crime tape this morning.
Yeah, so the information that we have just from unconfirmed information, but the information that we have from sources is that there may be an active shooter situation here. Law enforcement on the scene.
You guys please help me out, hit like, share the stream out.
As an aside, as we're waiting to get more information here, there have been several sort of false, there's been false activity at some universities in the last week or so here as school's been going, and active shooter situations that were not false calls into law enforcement. This has been something that we actually scheduled today to talk with St. Paul Police Chief Axel Henry today, just as a check-in, and we were going to ask him about that as school gets going here, because this has been something, and again, we don't know that that's what this is, but just as we're looking at a situation that potentially could be an active shooter, according to our unconfirmed information here. But
sure. Oh, there you see, it looks like a Minneapolis police officer in some sort of tactical gear there. I saw some state troopers out on the scene as well. And then you also see a Hennepin County, that white vehicle is a medical vehicle there. So a large response here from multiple agencies out there right now. You can see some of those vehicles parked kind of on the perimeter of this scene. It's clear that they're keeping our photographer, our crews, away from maybe the most active part of the situation. We're just kind of seeing the outskirts of these law enforcement officials gathering and responding to, again, whatever is happening at this address. Again, it came in as a church, South Minneapolis. It would be southwest Minneapolis, south of the chain of lakes there.
Yeah, and Hannah, I think we're able to say now 500 block of 54th Street in Minneapolis specifically. And we just want to pass that along because we've had folks, inquiring into our newsroom of what's going on. They're seeing large police presence, not only there, but a lot of law enforcement and first responders headed to that scene in a hurry. So people are wondering what's going on in that area. So we give you that information. Our crew there at the 500 block of 54th Street in Minneapolis, so that you know to avoid that area this morning. And now that you kind of can see what's going on here via your television or streaming, that you kind of stay out of that area. Let folks do what they need to do there, because this is could potentially be a very serious situation.
Yeah, we have heard from some folks down in that neighborhood who say they heard something. We don't know if that's some sort of incident, or maybe they heard all of the sirens of that response, but definitely people in that neighborhood, in of course that direct area, seeing all of this, but maybe even people a little bit further out did take notice that something was going on in this neighborhood. And then, as we said, in maybe the last 15 or 20 minutes or less is when we got our alert into the newsroom. It comes in as just a preliminary, hey, here's what's going on over the police scanners, the police activity. So we immediately sent our crews to go and check it out. But you see a lot of state patrol there. We've seen some officers with weapons on them as they're responding to whatever's going on. As I mentioned earlier, it's clear that we are being kept away, at least from most of the action, or just kind of seeing some of the law enforcement perimeter. And I want to point out, you can see, I would assume that they are neighbors, people who live in the neighborhood who are coming to check things out. Could possibly be people who were closer to the scene and have now been moved back kind of behind this police line as they investigate what's going on. But there you see some Hennepin County Sheriff's deputies, some state patrol, and closest here just on the left side of the screen, that looks like a Minneapolis police vehicle, all responding here, kind of shutting down, it looks like, at least this entire block that this church sits on. You said 54th Street.
Yeah, 500 block of 54th Street in Minneapolis, 1 block east of Lindale, if you know that area. And again, if you're headed that way, or have friends, neighbors, or friends or family in that neighborhood, definitely just let them know that something is going on, and they definitely want to stay out of that area. As we are waiting for more official information to come in, if you end up seeing information on social media, or you hear, goodness, yeah, you can see the line of law enforcement there on that street.
Wow, look at all those cops.
A lot of times in situations like this, early on, you'll hear certain terms, and one of them is, sometimes you hear a mass casualty event, and that can often happen early on, and you'll hear that term, and just kind of, so casualty doesn't always mean death. And just as journalists, as we have been through these many times, you learn that I just want to let people know, if you see that term out there, that doesn't necessarily mean deaths. It can mean injuries as well. Bless you. As you're seeing the information, because there's going to be a lot that's pouring in here via social media now. We are in that age where people are just going to post things, and you just don't quite know, what's going to be accurate or confirmed. But that's one thing to kind of watch out for here as you are trying to be a critical thinker as you go through this.
It does. Our producer's telling us right now, it appears that they are shutting down some ramps. I know Lauren is over there looking at some traffic maps. They may be shutting down some ramps here on 35W, just in this area, to allow for law enforcement vehicles. This would be Diamond Lake. It looks like would be East Diamond Lake Road would be the closest exit and entrance to 35W. There, again, it's just west of 35W. On there on Lindale and 54th Street, so be aware that some of those closures might happen. And Amy, I just want to point out, when we had the camera facing the other way, you saw that long line of law enforcement, and I think seeing all of these different agencies and all of those who responded just kind of gives us an idea that whatever is happening here, it's been definitely
give us a call, please.
In our other angle, I did see a law enforcement officer walking with a canine. So they do, for whatever reason, have canines out there on the scene. But you can tell a large response
Probably 210.
right now.
You can put me back on my COT and leave the other cops on this call, please. Okay.
Tactical gear, plain clothes that then they throw on some of this tactical gear to get out and respond to something like this. So at least the law enforcement presence, the size of the presence here is giving us an idea that whatever is happening is something pretty serious. So this is where our crew is stationed right now at Grand and West Diamond Lake Road, which is about a half a block away from the address from this church.
I was just going to say, it's hard to tell how.
So this is a church, Annunciation Church, but they also it's like a school as well. And so reportedly there's at least 20 victims. That's what I'm hearing. That's what's being reported in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Major police and emergency response to the scene.
As you can see, folks showing up here, and don't want to speculate on who people may be, but as you can see, there's going to be a lot of people who are trying to get close to that church area.
Yeah, interesting to see that officer out there with the FBI on its tactical vest, which doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Sometimes the FBI is called in to help in things like this.
They have a K-8 school at this location, K-8.
So we know already that Minneapolis police were pretty strapped. They responded to at least another deadly shooting in downtown Minneapolis earlier this morning. No indication that any of that is connected to what's going on here, but just gives you an idea of this city's resources and how they've been using those. They also dealt with a shooting involving 7 victims earlier yesterday, another fatal last night around 8 o'clock. So it could be that a lot of this help is being called in just to alleviate some of the busyness, I guess, that you could say that Minneapolis police are under. But clearly a lot of agencies now coming in to help. And I will say, Amy, when you see sometimes a lot of these law enforcement officers kind of by the perimeter, we see them bringing plainclothes people who look like non-law enforcement. Maybe
Active shooter. They're saying at least 20 victims, supposedly. That's what's being reported. Major scene, chaos. Was this, I mean, who knows? Is this connected to all the fake hoax? Is this the real one that we're preparing for? Like, what's going on here?
Care for people there, so it could be an indication of just where they're at in this investigation and how active things are at this very moment.
And I was just given some more information here that we can confirm. So we are able now to give you the name of the church. It's Church of the Annunciation in Minneapolis, and the mayor, Jacob Fry, Minneapolis, and Governor Walz have both been briefed on the situation. We're told that you can see, you know, obviously Hennepin County there, but BCA, State Patrol on scene. We can confirm that. But Governor Walz, just a short time ago, we learned he has not given any sort of a press conference yet, but he has been briefed, and he did indicate that that is the name of the church. If just going on the website here, so there's a church and a school, and it looks like, I'm going to try to find out here.
We had, Amy, their schedule for the day that showed that they had an all-school mass starting at 8:15 this morning, and then it was around 8:40 to 8:45 that we got our first kind of initial information that police were being sent to this area, that something was going on in that area. So we do understand this is according to their online schedule, which we know is of course subject to change, especially at the beginning, what is likely the beginning of the school year for these students, that there is a chance there was an all-school mass happening at this time. And just because we are talking about a church and a school, that could be another reason that there's this large law enforcement presence, could be another reason that they're calling in the state troopers, the BCA, why we maybe saw that FBI
Sorry.
School and the church next door to each other, Annunciation, is a K-8.
Annunciation.
And I just wanted to read. Looks like Governor Walz did put a statement on X or Twitter. It says, "I have been briefed on a shooting at Annunciation Catholic School and will continue to provide updates as we get more information. The BCA and State Patrol are on scene. I'm praying for our kids and teachers whose first week of school was marred by this horrific act of violence." So that is from Governor Walz on Twitter. And then also Mayor Jacob Fry says, "I'm monitoring reports of horrific violence in South Minneapolis. I'm in touch with Chief O'Hara, and our emergency response team has been activated. We will share more information as soon as we can. Please give our officers the space they need to respond to the situation. So a little bit more information there from the governor and the mayor, who are both alluding to what they're calling horrific violence, reports of horrific violence in South Minneapolis. So
that's
again,
crazy,
Annunciation
man.
Catholic School is the school that Governor Walz has.
So this one here, this article by BNO, it says at least 10 people shot, though I'm seeing reports on X that says 20 shot. The incident began around 8:30 this morning on Wednesday when officers were called for an active shooter at Annunciation Church, which is located at 509 West 54th Street. It's also home to a K-8 Catholic school. According to initial reports, there are multiple victims, including fatalities. The gunman reportedly armed with a rifle. It's unclear whether the shooting targeted daily mass at the church.
9:15.
It was during daily mass.
Negative response for 335.
Wow.
Moving the camera now, but there is a person standing at the intersection of Diamond Lake Road and 35W, opening and emergency vehicles with lights go and pass it, which has been happening every couple of minutes. I've seen a couple of ambulances and also just some state patrol vehicles.
Sure, so possible that we still have more law enforcement here responding to this. And again, that could be to help with the investigation. I know that we've already seen, at least when we first came on air, we already saw one Hennepin County ambulance leaving that area with the lights on. So clearly a big medical response to this, as well as the law enforcement that we're seeing there on scene.
So if you're just joining our coverage here, about 8:30 this morning, reports started coming into our newsroom, these news alerts that we get that are not confirmed, but we knew that something looked like it was happening in this area of Southwest Minneapolis. Our crew, Saquon, should be there, if not very, very close to being there. It looks like she is getting set up here. And we'll be going to her here as soon as she's ready.
Amy, I do want to point out that the ATF agents, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and that includes explosives, that they are there right now, and they have reports. This is from the ATF St. Paul's social media page. There are reports of an active shooter situation at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis.
And
so
I believe
from the ATF this morning.
Saquon has arrived at the scene and is getting situated. I know information is coming in really sporadically here. What can you tell us as you're arriving?
Well, yes, as you mentioned, I mean, this is kind of a situation that everyone's walking into blindly right now, and I'll step out of the way because there's a lot going on. It's a lot to process. I will say I parked a few blocks away just because obviously these roads are blocked off right now. To your point, we've been hearing these reports of this active shooter situation here at Annunciation Church, and on my way here, you guys, I mean, we saw parents running around. People are stopping me and asking me what's going on because they're hearing about these reports too, but also have no idea what they're walking into. You can see here, just from this shot alone, there are so many different agencies here. You guys mentioned ATF. State Patrol is here. We're seeing Golden Valley Police here, Minneapolis Police. I mean, there are agencies of all sorts here right now. Obviously, the mayor and the governor came out with something as well, saying that they were very well aware of the situation that's unfolding here. This doesn't even do it justice, you guys. I mean, behind us, it's hard to show here right now just because,
you know, we're middle of the road, middle of traffic. So a 2-year-old white male wearing a sweater and jean overalls, barefoot.
What the?
20 copy. The child's running westbound Larpenteur out to Hamlin now.
A 2-year-old?
Yeah, it's going to be eastbound. Copy that.
Squad 335, status. Checking status.
I'm go for now.
Copy, go for now, clearing at 10-1 at 9.
obviously here, mayor presence. And there are more people
Mayor,
stopping by and trying to figure out
what's going on
first. Even there's Mayor Fry running right now. Not exactly sure what he is doing. I'm sure he's trying to make sure that, he's able to talk to parents and figure things out there. But, guys, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of panic here. There's a lot of people on their phones trying to tell people what's going on, even though it's really unclear at this point. These reports come in.
919.
Annunciation Catholic School.
This area. I did hear actually someone saying to a group of parents that they should stage somewhere else. They should all go to this one area. I'm not exactly sure which location they were pointing to, but it sounds like the parents right now, there's groups of parents who are sticking together as they try to figure out what's going on, especially if their kids are in school.
In between 6th and for Parks and Rec.
Is there a PEO monitoring? 692, go ahead over there. Thank you.
Us this morning, this is a very confusing scene to look at because you're talking about the state patrol, you're talking about Golden Valley PD, Minneapolis PD, fire. I mean, every single agency you can think of is here right now. Lines of cars, you guys, lights on. I mean, we saw Mayor Fry arrive here on scene just a few minutes ago, running towards the school and the church.
On the route, admin, please.
Going on, I'm thinking, copy.
356, copy, WC.
3922 traffic.
We were running and talking about what was going on. I think this is a situation that is
Seaman Frederick with Paul, William, George, 962.
Neighbors are now starting to come out. More neighbors than I've ever seen. And this isn't the only space that these agencies are in, right? I mean, if this report of an active situation is true, right, they're going to be patrolling all sorts of areas around this area. Even up above, we're seeing helicopters. We're hearing them all above us. I didn't even mention that. This is it's going to be a long morning here, guys. And this is, again, the information. We don't have the information right now. It's very limited at this point.
It's a nice church.
We're trying to figure out what's going on as well. So obviously, we'll stay here, try to gather everything we can for you, and we'll keep you updated, guys. Back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just feel for those parents that are there trying to understand what's going on as we're trying to learn information too. So I know that Say will be out there talking to folks, trying to get some more information.
We do have it confirmed now that there was a shooting at this location. The governor has confirmed that. So we were waiting for a little bit more. We had reports of an active shooter situation, and we still don't know whether the shooter is in custody or not.
Yeah,
but we do have confirmed reports now that this is a shooting from the governor. So we'll continue to get more information. It's literally coming in by the minute to us here, and we just want to make sure that we bring you the most accurate information that is confirmed.
I do want to say, I think it is telling that when we saw the mayor arrive, that him and the other man that he was with, they were allowed behind that police tape. So I think that at least tells us that law enforcement is allowing some outside folks to come in. We're seeing people come and go, which kind of just gives you a sense, I think, of what the scene, where it's at this point, that they are letting these law enforcement officers come and go. And we did see in that shot earlier a couple of drones that we assume that the police were using as part of their investigation that were now grounded. Oh, there was Brian Tyner, the fire chief that I saw just walk past the camera. And as we pointed out, we can see a fire truck and several EMS, some of those medical first responders who are there allowed behind the tape right now. And we're also watching crowds, like Say said, people in the neighborhood, parents coming to check this out. I mean, we're getting initial reports that as many as 65 units law enforcement units were deployed to this area. So obviously a huge response that's going to draw a lot of attention to this neighborhood. As we mentioned, the East Diamond Lake Road exit from 35W has been shut down as well. So this is definitely having reverberating impacts on the neighborhood. They're noticing how big this scene is,
2264 Tango,
and just how much they're trying to keep some folks away as they continue the investigation.
As Say mentioned, you know, when you look at this and you're watching it in real time, and she's there, and there's that heightened sense of you know, urgency and anxiety when you're there. It is clearly a very controlled scene. Unfortunately, our law enforcement agencies have a plan for this, and they practice this, and they know exactly what to do.
Parking complaint at 54 East Road is by the golf club. They're upset about the tennis players near the main tennis court partially blocking lanes of traffic with their vehicles.
Squad 144.
64 Tango, copy. Copy, go for 925.
Which is K through 12. And at about 8:30 this morning, there were reports coming in of a possible active shooter. And now we have some more information from you. Let's put up what, hang on just one second here, Ryan. I just want to hold, there's our Corn Hoggard also arriving on the scene there. Just want to see if there's, okay, let's put this statement up from Governor Walz quickly as we get a little bit more. So this was something that Governor Walz said here just about 10 minutes ago. I've been briefed on a shooting at Annunciation Catholic School, and we'll continue to provide updates as we get more information. The BCA and State Patrol are on scene. I'm praying for our kids and teachers whose first week of school was marred by this horrific act of violence.
Yeah, we understand that the students at the school, it's a K through 8 Catholic school, started school on Monday.
Let's take you back to the video really quickly here as I'm just looking down here. It looks like some
religious.
Can we get back to the live picture here if we can? What we're seeing here is looks like
where's the shooter? Is he dead, alive? Is he on the loose?
With,
yeah, I saw some of these women run directly up to these law enforcement officers, phones in hand, and as Say mentioned, she had heard that maybe law enforcement is directing parents, or you know, people just concerned maybe with a stronger connection than just neighbors and civilians looking to come and see what's happening, that they might be directing them to a separate staging area away from where we are, which is about a half a block away from that church. So as we look down past the crime tape, it's about a half a block away from that church.
Thank you for all your hard work. I almost forgot the like button.
Less than 10 minutes ago, we saw Mayor Jacob Fry
Thank you, Brown Sugar.
running with another man past the police tape into this scene, and we do have a statement from him as well. And Ryan, our producer, I believe that we can put that up on the screen as well, what the mayor is saying about the situation so far. He says, I'm not
could you log me out of CAT and put me in with 353? We'll be going to Minneapolis as well. Okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's up with the shooter. Yeah, they're saying over here 20 people at Minneapolis Church. Active shooter guns down 20 people. This is a Daily Mail article.
5285.
We're potty training. 5285.
Oh, Lord, help me. Let me get the other one.
Inside my current, take 911, show me on scene.
So we've been full of hoaxes for days. All of a sudden, we got a real one.
First images that we're getting out of this area, and again, this call came into an address that is a church that also houses a school, and the information that first came in was about some potential shots fired. It looked like some sheriff's deputies. Now we see an ambulance here leaving that scene with the lights on the scene right now. I saw some state troopers.
20 people.
BCA is there, Minneapolis police. We've seen Hennepin County deputies. ATF is also out there as well. And now confirmation that the FBI has some agents en route. So.
Okay. And sorry, we have to communicate in real time with the folks who are giving us the information. But Ryan, I just want to be clear on what I am able to say at this point. The information you just given me a couple of minutes ago, we are okay. All right, we are working to just.
Several of the victims shot at Annunciation Church are children, including some under the age of 13.
Shooter situation at Annunciation Catholic School, K through 12 school. We know that school started there on Monday. And if you go to the website, it looks like it's connected to a church or next door to a church, and they do have mass at 8:15 in the morning on Wednesdays. So this is just piecing together some information that we have from the website and things like that. And we, and I'm just, as real time here, I'm just looking at some more information that's coming in. I'm just looking at Lisa Danis from the Minnesota Senate. She says, please join me in praying for the children, families, and staff at Annunciation Catholic School and for all of the law enforcement and medical personnel responding to this morning's horrific event. So people starting to react now on social media, and you're going to see a lot of that here throughout the morning.
Brian, back there in the booth, our producer, it looks like we have another angle, another photographer on scene that's giving us another angle. We're able to take that shot that we have in the preview here. No, not yet. Okay. We do have another angle of things that we're going to bring you here in just a little bit. But it does show that some park police are there as well. And again, it appears, I don't want to make any assumptions, but it does appear the way that they're having law enforcement come and go, the way that they let the mayor pass the crime tape, that this could be the point of the investigation, that they are letting some of those non-emergency first responders come in. Here's that angle that I was talking about. It looks like our photographer's on Harriet Avenue, facing straight at the door of the church. This is, again, Annunciation Church with a K through 8 Catholic school attached to it. And this looks like a main entry point that law enforcement are focusing on at this time. You see several Minneapolis police officers there in the blue with the vest. That's the Minneapolis police. And then you can see just in the doorway, it looks like some EMS crews, and there's some medical crews in there as well. But again, this is a different angle. We were about a half a block away at our other angle. And this one does looks like we're facing directly at the church, which sits on East Diamond Lake Road, which turns into West 54th Street, right here, right in front of the church. And right in front of the church, you have a crossroad of Harriet Avenue, where it looks like one of our crews was stationed. Now, this angle is from just east of the church at the intersection of Grand Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road. And again, just a reminder for folks that they are limiting traffic off of 35W and East Diamond Lake Road. That's an exit off of 35W, not letting folks get west towards the church.
And Hannah, we need to share this information. This was just confirmed by Fox 9 sources that the suspect is dead.
Suspect dead.
This is confirmed by Fox 9 sources. So, and folks back in the newsroom and control room, just please, you're doing a great job. Continue to let us know what is confirmed and what we can report out here, because there's a lot of information that's coming in on our internal channels. So I appreciate you guys being so specific. Thank you. So reports now confirmed by Fox 9 sources that the suspect is dead.
I sent you some info on Twitter and FB. I was afraid of this after all of these hoaxes.
It looks like a young boy with an EMS.
I wonder if it's linked,
worker with an emergency response crew with some sort of bandage on their hand. We want to get out to our Corn Hoggard, who was quick to get out on the scene this morning and has some insight for us from there at the scene. Again, this is in South Minneapolis, just west of 35W. Let's head out to Corn Hoggard with the very latest. Hey, Corn.
Hey, yeah, so this is actually my brother's neighborhood in South Minneapolis. So I parked at his house and talked to a bunch of his neighbors. And, I think Say's already been reporting that, the volume of gunfire was just tremendous. My brother's next door neighbor told me that, she heard so much gunfire, she thought she wouldn't even call it in because it must be somebody roofing their house. And so we're actually at the south entrance to Annunciation Church here, and this is where they're actually letting family in. There's signs here, even makeshift signs that tell family to go back in there. We have seen dozens of people walk behind that police tape, and they are gathering in a parking lot back there where they are getting information. So, we haven't heard from these families, but obviously, these are very anxious moments for family members. There's one running in right now, and you can understand, given the situation and given the concerns that they have, just the anxiety that they have going in there. So what I understand, though, is, this church is connected to a school, and kids have mass on Wednesday mornings, and that was what was going on here when all of this went down. Don't have any information on where the shooting happened relative to that, but that's why all of these parents are very concerned. They have kids who were here at Annunciation Church who were at Mass. Now, obviously, we have confirmed that there was a shooting and that suspect is deceased, but beyond that, do not know what's happened to these folks. My brother's actually in Amsterdam, and he's texting me to see if I have any information. And so, very concerned, very large concern here for the neighbors and obviously for the family. Everybody's just gathering out here to kind of see if they can figure anything out right now. We saw dozens of police cars rushing to the scene, dozens that were already here, EMS all over. But obviously the scene has calmed down now, but it's just a matter of parents finding out what happened and what is the status of their children. And so, that's a huge concern for them right now. So again, you're seeing some of the parents, some of the family members of the children who were at this school at Mass this morning, going back there and trying to get some information. So we're also trying to get information, but obviously, there was a lot of moving parts, and so we'll hear from all those folks pretty soon. I know Mayor Fry is out here, and
okay, you guys,
talk to everybody, but the police the same, but that may still take a while.
Corin, I had a question for you. This is Hannah Flood back at the studio. You said your brother lives in that neighborhood, and you were talking to neighbors and your brother who said that they may have heard some of those gunshots?
Ooh.
Absolutely. They heard a ton of gunfire, a lot of it, so much that they figured it wasn't even gunfire. It had to be somebody was roofing their house early in the morning. And so, yeah, there was a lot of gunfire here. I talked to several of my brother's neighbors. I saw one of them actually, looking into backyards, and I, said hi to him. He knows me, and he said he was trying to make sure a suspect hadn't escaped through some of the ways that you can run through people's yards here. So everybody here doing all they can to try to help as well, but with the information that we got now that the suspect is dead, that's less of a concern. But that was, as I arrived on scene, still neighbors trying to figure out if somebody potentially armed with a weapon who had just fired it was in their backyards.
Right. They hear off the gunfire and they just don't know it. And you mentioned it, of course, Corin, but we are getting confirmation that the suspected shooter is dead, and we are hearing from the city of Minneapolis. They're saying that there's no active threats at this time. That's according to the city. Corin Hoggart out there live for us. Thank you, Corin. We'll let you get back to gathering a lot more information again as we're continuing to learn more. This is another angle that we have. Where Corin was appeared to be just in front of that church and school, and this is about a half a block away from that. And we do understand now that families have been given a staging area. We've seen what we believe multiple parents, the ones who have their phone in their hands, were running right up to law enforcement officers trying to get some information. So they do have a staging area at this time to keep parents informed with whatever is happening there at this moment.
And if we could, just for a second, as we're waiting for more information to come in, again, we don't have any information confirmed on injuries, anything like that. We'll bring that to you as soon as we get it confirmed. But I wanted to just, if we could, do we have a map of this area just to give folks an idea? Okay, we're working on a map, but as Hannah was saying, so we have Annunciation Catholic School, and then we have the Catholic Church that's affiliated with it, Annunciation Church, and they're next door. There's sort of a little grove of trees and a little house in between, and then there's a parking lot, a shared parking lot for the two. And the focus here is on that Catholic school. I'm just looking through what the Associated Press has been able to gather here, and they are saying that they phoned the school, and a person who answered the phone at Annunciation School said that students were being evacuated. So again, it looks like pre-K through 8th grade had an all-school mass scheduled at 8:15 this morning. The call came in at 8:27
was
this
the first
morning.
Call to law enforcement. According to the information that's out there right now. So we understand they started school here on Monday, and potentially, according to their schedule, could have potentially been in an all-school mass where, in theory, those pre-K through 8th grade students gather potentially in the church. Like Amy said, they're right next door to each other. So it still could be really either building at this point. But 8:15, according to their online schedule, they were set to be in that mass. And then the first calls came in at 8:27. And we can now confirm that this is a shooting that they were investigating, and we can confirm that the suspected shooter is dead and that the city is saying there's not a greater threat to the public right now. But obviously this is going to remain a very active scene, not only with look at that line of cars of the first responders from the FBI, ATF, BCA, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, State Patrol, City Police, but as well we're seeing a lot of EMS out there as well. And right when we came on here, Amy, at 9, we saw at least one ambulance pull away with the lights on, which is just indicative of them out there helping, potentially injured people, trying to get them where they need to go to get that medical assistance.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to toss it out to our Saquon here. Just wanted to pass along also the federal government is responding as well. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying that DHS is monitoring the horrific shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. We are in communication with our interagency partners and we'll share more information as soon as it becomes available.
Crazy,
I am praying for the victims of this heinous attack and their families.
Multiple victims.
Our Saquon is on the scene. She was the first to arrive for us. And we'll say, let us know what you've been able to gather here in the last few minutes.
Well, it looks like a big armored vehicle here coming on through right now, if you can see this. This is a special weapons and tactics vehicle that's going in right now into the scene, past the crime tape. They're making some space for it. SWAT team is arriving now at this point. It's unclear why. I just want to report some information really quick for you guys that we're hearing from some people who are at a different entrance by the school right now. We did hear that students were told to be in the gym area so that they can kind of get a head count of the students who were there. We also heard that there was ambulances on site, and you can see here, this is a parent who is hugging a trooper right now with the State Patrol. We've been seeing a lot of this, you guys. This morning I said even, I parked 5 blocks down the road. I ran over here alongside some parents who were asking me what was going on. And keep in mind, because this is such a big space, there are so many different roads that are blocked off right now. So parents are arriving at all sorts of different entrances right now, trying to figure out how they can get through. And I will say it's very clear that if you're a parent, they're just going to let you right in and get you to that staging area. Just got a text from a friend too, you guys, who kind of lives in this neighborhood. They just got a text message from the city. Active police situation at the Annunciation Church on this address. No active threat to the community at this time. Shooter is contained. Avoid the area of West 54th from Lindale to Nicollet to allow emergency personnel to help victims. Families of children at the school can go to the reunification zone at Annunciation School. There are more vehicles arriving as we speak. And this area is already blocked off, so of course it's only making way for these armored vehicles, law enforcement of course who are arriving. But I just wanted to give you guys an update with where the students are right now. Again, last update I heard was that they were inside the gym to make sure that staff and whoever is there right now helping out could get an accurate head count of everybody. Right now though, I will say if you just live in the area and you have no connection to here, I think a lot of these law enforcement agencies are just trying to spread the message to give them some space, because obviously.
So it looks like we have obviously a real situation this time. I wonder if there's any connection with all the fake ones, and now we have a real one.
Hi Mel, always on top of it. What's happening?
Mass shooting, multiple victims, suspect dead, and Annunciation Catholic Church.
And we'll be here for a while, guys, as we gather some more stuff.
Thank you. So we saw just that powerful image of that woman hugging a state trooper just over your shoulder.
Yeah, they're saying as many as 20 victims. Holy crap.
Here we are about an hour and 15 minutes after that first initial call came in.
This reporter, let me see, is this a reporter? Yeah, this is a reporter. She says that sources have also said that the active shooter was dressed in all black. All black is down at the scene. So he's down at the scene, suspect, down at the scene. He was dressed in all black.
A shot of what looked like potentially a parent walking with a student. I say that because the student looked like they were in some sort of school uniform. It was a younger person, so it is a potential that some students and families are able to leave that area right now. As they mentioned, the school, we're hearing reports that the school was having children after the situation gather in the gym just so they can get that head count, make sure that everybody is okay, get people the attention that they need, and then of course reunite them with their parents as they start arriving at the scene.
So to run through some of the confirmed information that we have, we can now report a shooting at Annunciation Catholic School. That's the school, again, you know, the church is next door. We know that there was a mass scheduled, at least this morning at 8:15. The church building is not connected directly to the school, but it is next to it. So we're not sure exactly what scene specifically we're looking at, but all indications is that it has to do with the school, because that's what Governor Walz, Mayor Fry have been specifically referencing in the very limited information that we have. We know that the shooter is dead. We do not have any confirmed reports yet on any victims. So we don't have, you know, extent of injuries, how many people may be affected, anything like that to share with you officially yet. And as we all know all too well, as school shootings or any kind of mass shootings like, you know, happen, a lot of information pours out in the beginning, even from officials sometimes who tell us X number of people have been shot or, you know, killed, and then they sometimes have to reel that back in because it's so fluid right now as victims are being taken to the hospital and there's just so much communication that's going on.
Yeah, and sometimes in these situations people get hurt. Not because of the initial event, not because of the shooting, but maybe just the response as people are trying to get to safety and things like that. So that's how sometimes things can get a bit confusing at first, and I think that's why we're just seeing so many of those EMS first responders there, not only for people who might need that initial first, they're very clearly injured and need that help, but maybe folks just residually who need some of that help. Ryan, I think I heard you saying that we do have Nathan O'Neill live outside of HCMC this morning, where it sounds like at least some folks have been brought. We have seen some of their ambulance units out at the scene and leaving the scene. So let's get out to Nathan O'Neill live outside of HCMC in downtown Minneapolis this morning.
Yeah, like you said, we're outside of HCMC right now. There seems to be some sort of preparation that's going on outside of the hospital in terms of just getting ready for some sort of arrival of any sort of injuries or just some sort of emergency response. I want to show you what we have here. This is one of the entrances to the ambulance bay here at the hospital. You see law enforcement is standing outside, heavily armed. They are armed around the perimeter of the hospital, actually. 8th Street is shut off to traffic on one side of the hospital. And earlier I saw many EMS workers out there standing in the bays, kind of waiting for something, bracing for something, as well as a lot of law enforcement. We have not seen any sort of flurry of ambulances or arrivals, but it is definitely clear that they are bracing for something and they want to be ready in case they are needed.
Okay, Nathan, I'm sorry, did you say that there are roads closed and this should be, is this an area that people should avoid at this point?
Yeah, it's a small closure on 8th Street and Chicago, just in front of the hospital. It's a one-way road that's closed off. It looks like they're just trying to make it accessible for any emergency vehicles that might need to go through there. So they have the road blocked off. Pedestrians are still walking through. So it's not a huge traffic concern for downtown right now. But we've kind of been pushed back a little bit by law enforcement just to make way so that any incoming ambulances or emergency crews that do come through and see the officer that are on the side of the road here and get the directions they need to know to go where they need to go.
Sure. Okay. That's Nathan O'Neill outside of HCMC in downtown Minneapolis. Nathan, we'll get back to you, but we are hearing that some of our crews at the scene might have some more information. And Ryan, back there in the booth, our producer, I believe we have a map ready now that we can kind of give people an idea as we head back to the scene where exactly this is in South Minneapolis. Do we have that map ready? Okay, we're working on that map. But just to give you an idea, if you're just tuning in, it looks like we have this map up. You can see 35W there to the right in the Diamond Lake Road. That is an exit off of 35. And then you can see Annunciation Church and School right there. That other, just to the left of that yellow line would be Lyndale Avenue, which is, of course, a main thoroughfare through South Minneapolis.
And if we're able to do it, I don't know if we are or not, but if we can, if there is a way to do kind of a Google Street view of that as well, it's kind of helpful to see the church and the school school and the proximity and that area around that, because the perimeter is about a half a block around. But again, the shooter dead, no threat to the community any longer, and law enforcement really wants us to let you know that there is nothing to worry about as far as an active shooter situation here. That shooter is down, and there's no threat to the community. But we've been getting more information, as we can see here. Our crews on the ground there, Corn Hoggard was just telling us that parents, it looks like, are allowed to take their children from the scene, and we've seen several parents now walking with children, grade school age. This is a school that has kids anywhere from pre-K to 8th grade, Annunciation Catholic School, and we've seen several of those parents taking. Okay, well, and go ahead.
I was just going to say, it looks like there on the left you can see that appears to be the church building, and then on the right, that other doorway we're showing you, that school building, as Amy said, they're detached, but there's a little kind of grove of trees in between them.
All right, Corn Hoggard is on the ground, and Corn, we were just talking about kids and their parents being reunited. What have you got?
See this happening behind me right now. We've seen dozens of families leaving here after this, and it feels a little intrusive to try to go up there and talk to them, but I did ask one person who is a neighbor to my brother if everybody was okay, and she told me, well, everybody here, but not everybody. And she kept walking after that, but you can see there are a lot of somber faces here. We saw some children who were clearly shaken up by what they witnessed, whether it was something they saw or heard or both. Very, very troublesome thing for anyone to experience, but especially a child of this age to go through that is pretty tough. And so a lot of these kids walking out of here with really, you can see right here just a grim look on his face, and being supported by parents and family members, and not a good situation for these kids today. So I mentioned earlier, this is a K through 8 school. They were, most of them had a mass this morning as this was going on. Again, do not know details of where in the school or outside of the school this happened, but it's something that everybody in this neighborhood for blocks and blocks could hear. Our own Alex Kendall, our old AM anchor here, lives just a little ways away, and she told me she heard it as well. All my brother's neighbors told me that they heard just a lot of gunfire, so much that they didn't even believe that that's what it was, that it had to be somebody working on their roof or something like that. But again, we're seeing all these children and their families coming out here, very emotional, but at least for these families, it seems their kids are okay. But again, the one parent I did manage to talk to, who is a neighbor of my brother, said that not everybody is, and so still trying to gather details on that. But as you can see, these kids had a rough morning here, and I don't know if that's something that they'll want to remember.
Absolutely. Horrible, Corn, but happy to see that so many kids are reunited with their parents and are getting out of there, and then the police and law enforcement can continue their investigation, and these kids can get out of there and get home. Oh, there's a little guy holding on to his mom there. Oh, you just feel for those families and those parents. But is a sign kind of what's happening there at the scene as they're starting to let those students leave with their families, and I'm sure a lot of very relieved parents getting there today and being able to take their kids home. Unimaginable.
Yeah, first week of school here after the holiday weekend, but for those children, first day of school was Monday. At Annunciation Catholic School, we know that according to their website, there's a scheduled mass Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 8:15 a.m. So that church building, again, next door, we don't know quite. We don't know anything about where this happened specifically.
Right.
Most importantly, we don't have the information on victims here. We confirmed. You're going to see things on social media, and even in these situations, as I said earlier, law enforcement will also oftentimes come forward because people are anxious for this information, and they'll give us some information on the wounded or those who've been killed, and that has to be rolled back because it's everything's happening so quickly. Continuing to watch here some video of these parents, and again, this is just it's heartbreaking. It's so bittersweet because you know that those families are so relieved that their children are okay in this situation, but also, again, as Corin alluded to, you know, you say it all the time, you just don't think it's going to happen in your backyard.
Absolutely.
And more, it just is.
Kind of incredible comparing it just on that very local level of seeing those kids hugging their parents hugging those kids, taking them away from the scene. And at the same time, we have President Donald Trump now putting out on social media that he's been briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI quickly responded and they are on the scene. The White House will continue to monitor the terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved. So it's reached the point where we have the president talking about this as well, and has been briefed on it. We also have the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, tweeting that she is aware of what's going on and is monitoring the situation. In this view right here, this looks to be the school portion of that property. The church would be just to the left, and we've seen law enforcement and even some students and families kind of in that area, but the church is separate. And as Amy mentioned, those students, the pre-K through 8 students, were scheduled at 8:15 to be in a mass, presumably at the church next door. And then the first calls of that shooting came in at 8:27. So presumably less than 15 minutes after that mass started, that they started getting some of those first reports of those shots fired. But at this time, the city's saying that there is no threat to the public and that
Suspect
the
shot
shooter
and
is
dead.
confirmed dead. And then we were seeing a lot of those students and families.
They're saying shot and dead at the scene. Why did he target this school, this Catholic school in Minneapolis? And it's been reported as many as 20 people have been shot. Multiple reports. I don't know how many fatalities, but multiple victims. And it was weird that
it's a little concerning that they aren't rushing victims to the hospital.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, unless they're deceased, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. And then also AlertPage said that also a possible explosive device. So what was up with that?
And continuing to just watch this information come in real time and sift through what is reportable.
Yeah, I heard. So Grammy sent me something. The Minneapolis Police Department says 1 person is dead and 6 others wounded in a mass shooting Tuesday afternoon. Officers responded to the 2900 block of Clinton Avenue just before 1:30 p.m. The scene is across the street from Cristo Rey Jesus High School. There was a shooting at the same place yesterday. So yeah, I heard that there was a shooting yesterday too, somewhere nearby. Not the same exact place, but I heard there was somewhere nearby. I don't know, is it related or not? You can't, there's nowhere safe anymore for your kids. And honestly, the people that homeschool, you can see why. Not just because of the education and all this other stuff. That's the main part. Because I know those people that homeschool, they say they can squeeze in 2-3 hours, but these kids do the whole day. 2-3 hours, they're done for the day, and they get everything and more at home. But a lot of people can't do that because of work and stuff like that. But also, it's also a safety thing.
Inside the crime tape, presumably getting much closer, talking to law enforcement officers who are responding. So we'll be waiting to see. We're closely monitoring his channels, his information as potentially someone who could give us an update about what happened. But obviously, they want to make sure they have all of the information first. And as Amy's been saying, anything like this happens, you'll see a lot of information out on social media about potentially people wounded, potentially people shot. Not always when someone is hurt in this situation does it mean that they were shot, even though this was a call for a shooting. So we're just working to gather all that. We want to make sure we bring you the latest information and most accurate information. And again, at this point, it seems that law enforcement is still very focused on this investigation, focused on making sure that these kids are okay to go home, getting them reunited with their parents, updating families about what's going on. It seems to be they're in that part of this investigation, that part of this scene, and not so much of dealing with the active shooter, because again, we have learned the active shooter is dead. But all of this aside, these children leaving, the parents being allowed behind the crime tape to go get their students, tells us that a lot of the threat has tampered down at this point. that they're allowing people to leave to enter and leave the scene at this time.
Okay, and there's Corin. You guys just let me know if you want to go to Corin. Okay, go ahead, Corin. Go ahead.
Gathered here outside as the parents are coming out with their children. Did manage to talk to one more of the parents here, and they said that they knew of at least a couple of kids who had been shot but had survived, but beyond that, don't really have any updates here. It does feel a little intrusive, like I said earlier, to try to talk to these folks as they leave what's probably the worst moment of their children's lives. And, you know, they're all kind of clutching their kids pretty tightly and, you know, just trying to embrace them as they walk out of here. But, you know, that was, from what they said, inside the mass, it was an all-school mass. So it's, you know, every student at this school. And so all of them, at least to some extent, witnessed this, whether they saw exactly what was happening or just could hear it. They were all there. So you can see all of these folks who were uninjured who are walking out. But again, it's a very emotional time for them. A lot of these kids walking out of here in tears or just, you know, with, you know, grimacing on their faces, and it's, you know, you can imagine why. It's a pretty tough situation for all of them. Yeah, I don't know much more I can add to that, but you can see a lot of them right there, and it's pretty tough.
Yeah, thanks, Corin. And to have to, as you mentioned, you know, walk past people who are onlookers or who are there who are concerned, but also cameras, and it's a really tough situation. Thank you, Corin.
Thanks, Nicole.
We'll revisit that in a second.
Yeah,
and you can go ahead and cut that mic for us. Thank you. I just wanted to share some more information, and this is the first time that we're able to share this kind of information. This is coming from a police alert that went out about 30 minutes ago, so at about 9:30, from the City of Richfield Police Department. So this is what was sent to that community. Annunciation Church area police are responding to an active shooter call. We now know that the shooter is dead. Officers are reporting 20 victims. A man dressed in all black and armed with a rifle was reported at the scene.
Dressed in all
EMS
black,
has requested a mass casualty response, and fire crews are bringing in additional resources. As I said earlier, mass casualty does not mean deaths. It just means victims of some kind. Fire crews are bringing in additional resources. Initial information indicated that the suspect shooter is no longer a threat. That we know to be true now. Out of an abundance of caution, they are asking just people to stay out of that area because there's a lot of work to be done, you know, to complete this investigation and move through what they need to do this morning.
And of course, one of our big questions going forward will be timeline of all of this. 8:27 was when that first initial call of a shooting was reported, and then we had crews live at the scene by about 9 a.m. So of course, part of the information gathering that we're learning is, you know, what happened between that initial call at 8:27 and when we arrived there at 9 a.m. When this shooter was taken down, as we understand that they've been killed, and that there is no longer a threat to the public. But obviously that'll be one of the big questions. How long was that man in there? 20 victims at this time. As Amy mentioned, that does not mean that 20 people were killed, but at least 20 people, victims of some kind, whether that was they were hit by gunfire or injured in some other way. But again, Richfield police saying that there was a man who was dressed in all black, armed with a rifle, was reported at the scene. Potentially, when we look at the schedule for the school, these students, this is a pre-K through 8 school, a school affiliated with the church next door. They're technically not connected. There's a little bit of a lot with some trees in between them, but according to the school schedule at 8:15, those students were scheduled to be in mass. So that will be another question, of course, that we have going forward, if this was the situation where the shooter entered the school building or the church building. And of course, if you have all of these people gathered in one area, you think of the chaos of it all. And so again, what happened between that 8:27 when those first calls came in and at 9 o'clock, at least when our crews appeared on the scene, it appeared the way that we saw folks coming and going from the crime scene, the way that we saw the mayor let inside of that crime tape, even the fire and EMS let inside that scene, that maybe at that point the active threat situation was tampered down at that time. So again, these will all be questions that we'll be asking law enforcement here when they give us an update. But obviously their focus right now is reuniting these students with their families, getting them off of campus, getting the students who are okay back with their parents and getting them home, of course, to start some of the healing. Just some of these extremely powerful images that we've seen all morning of folks.
So here's some new information. Parent says shooter at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis pepper sprayed through stained glass windows. Fired 50 to 100 shots. He killed 2 kids. AZ Intel posted that from an article. He just pepper sprayed through the stained glass window into the building. 50 to 100 shots, said the parent, and did not want his name used. He killed 2 kids, so they know who it is. Some of these people, I guess. Who did not... Oh, no, sorry. The parent didn't want their name used. Okay. This is terrible, he said. This is evil. I don't know how you defend against this. I don't understand it either. I don't know why people that go on a rampage or have some type of mental health crisis, as they call it, or whatever it is. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's not just mental health. I don't know. Some people are just evil or I don't know, a cry for attention. I don't know why the first thought under their head is, let me go shoot up a school and kids and innocent children. Like that's the whatever that comes to their head.
Contacted me that, I'm limited as to exactly what I know, but so we know people. I have friends that know people who have been shot. So
the survivor who described the wood being blown around them.
What's that now?
The survivor who described the wood being kind of blown off around them.
Yep.
Remind me how you know them.
So I didn't know him.
Okay.
This gentleman goes to morning mass every day of the week, and he usually goes to the Basilica.
Yeah.
He just happened to go here randomly, and this is what happened.
And you talked to him as he came out?
Yep. All the parents were on the, if you've never been in there, there's a right and left, and there's an aisle in between. So all the parents were on the left side. And so he was on the left side. So there must have been sporadic gunfire going on. He said it looked like just a normal Sunday mass. So it was full, of people and children. So.
And how did he get out?
He just ran, when the fire, he said it seemed like it went on for eternity, but when it stopped, he ran out of the building.
When did you first hear about this?
So we live about 2 blocks from here. I was on a call. All the windows of our home were open. I know what gunfire sounds like, and I could tell. I was shocked. I said, "There's no way that could be gunfire." There was so much of it. So it was sporadic. It was a semi-automatic. It seemed like a rifle. It certainly didn't sound like a handgun. And so he must have reloaded, several times for sure.
Do you remember about how many gunshots?
I'll just say maybe 30 to 50 to, somewhere in that area.
Do you recall about how long
the fire went on?
Yeah.
For, I would say, several minutes. 3 minutes or 4. Which is a long time for live gunfire. That's a long time.
Yeah,
you can
20 minutes?
wrap off a lot of shots. So there again, I'm just estimating,
So what was your name?
My name is Bill Benneman.
Can you spell that, please?
It's B as in boy, IENEMANN.
You're a neighbor.
Yeah, we live a couple blocks over this way.
And you said you attend mass here as well?
Yes, yeah, and my daughter here went to school there for 9 years. So we know a lot of people here.
Can you repeat your last name one more time?
It's Benneman.
Well, we a lot of details from this neighbor, Bill Benneman, who says his daughter went to school there at the Annunciation Catholic School and Church. On the left of your screen, you can see the church and where the sanctuary is. And then on the right of that, it appears that's where the school is. A lot of important and also very sad information coming from Bill, who said he spoke to a man who was inside the church. We don't know what they were doing. If this was the first day of school, they tend to have kind of gatherings for parents and staff and kids, if this was a mass. But he said the sanctuary was full. of families, parents on the left, there were children in there, and then there was rapid fire. The local
Okay. Interesting. There's a press conference coming up too, guys.
And school there,
So,
west of 35W near Lyndale Avenue and
it.
East Diamond Lake Road in South Minneapolis.
Our Corin Hoggard has been on the scene for us, our Saquon there as well, and Corin a little bit earlier. His brother happens to live in that neighborhood and went to his house, parked there, and started just talking to folks as we were.
Let's see.
It's tactical vest, which doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Sometimes the FBI is called in to help and things like this. I will say throughout the morning, we've been following a violent night overnight in Minneapolis. So we know already that Minneapolis police were pretty strapped. They responded to at least another deadly shooting in downtown Minneapolis earlier this morning. No indication that any of that is connected to what's going on here, but just gives you an idea of this city's resources and how they've been using those. They also dealt with a shooting involving 7 victims earlier yesterday, another fatal last night around 8 o'clock. So it could be that a lot of this help is being called in just to alleviate.
But they said crime's down. What happened? I thought they said crime was down. Now there's not enough to respond.
Some of the busyness, I guess, that you could say that Minneapolis police are under, but clearly a lot of agencies now coming in to help. And I will say, Amy, when you see sometimes a lot of these law enforcement officers kind of by the perimeter, we saw them bringing plainclothes people. It looked like not law enforcement, maybe people involved with the scene, kind of taking them away from that scene. Could be an indication that things are settling down a bit there, that this is maybe now.
Okay, interesting. These are the people that, wanted to abolish police.
Building. They basically share a property. There's a little bit of a grove of trees, you could say, in between the two. But just thinking about these kids and these families too, they just started school on Monday. And here we are on a Wednesday. Dealing with this.
That's crazy. So school for them started Monday. We've been back to school here. It's been like 2 weeks. I know people start at different times. So they just got back Monday. It's already this.
They do their safety drills and going over safety protocol. So obviously, just horrific for them. We understand 8:27 is when the first calls came in, and now here at just after 10 o'clock, we're seeing a lot of folks leaving the scene. That unification. We're hearing from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office talking about that unification area, saying families and students can go to that reunification zone, but they are asking people to stay out of that area. We know earlier the exit from 35W to East Diamond Lake Road heading in that direction was closed down. It was only open for first responders. They're just trying to keep folks out of that area, and I'm sure prioritize getting folks with children at that school or even loved ones who may work at the school, being able to get them there to the scene. But we have seen so many folks, what it looks like from the neighborhood, out there checking things out. As Amy mentioned, we are hearing from some neighbors who said they heard a lot of gunshots. And the information that we have from Richfield Police is that there was a man dressed in all black who entered with a rifle. And we do understand that man has since been taken down, that there's not an immediate threat to the community right now. Just more of those hugs and reunification, as you can see, students getting to leave that area now.
Yeah. Again, so bittersweet to see this, and as parents, your heart just you just can't even really describe the feeling, or caregivers, or hearing from people who have children in other, just even Catholic schools in the area, and again, we don't know what a motive here was, but it's just touching on so many different levels for so many different people, and it really, it's really something you just don't. You don't ever want to have to think about, and here we are in the throes of it as we see things like this happening, in other places, not here. So just a lot to process here.
I do want to point out, while this is happening in South Minneapolis, we've heard from President Donald Trump and Homeland Secretary of Security Kristi Noem, who both say that they are aware of the situation and monitoring. We've also heard from Senators Timothy Smith and Amy Klobuchar, who said that they are aware and monitoring the situation. And I really only bring that up just because it gives you a sense of the elevated level of all this. This is from the president. It says, "I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI quickly responded and they are on the scene. The White House will continue to monitor the terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved. So that just gives you an idea of the level that this has been raised to. And we're hearing from Richfield Police this morning, potentially 20 victims. We don't know if that means students, if that means staff. We do understand that this was a shooting. We can confirm that. We don't know if all 20 of these potential injuries are gunshot wounds, are people who have been shot, but we are expecting a press conference here in the next 15 minutes or so. And I will say, 15 minutes. Everybody wants to know the timeline, the motive, exactly what happened. Usually these first press conferences, it's just the very basic preliminary information, letting us know that there's no longer a threat to the community, that they're helping out the victims who have been hurt. But it could still be a while here this morning before we have some of that information about, say, a shooter, about how they entered, what their motive would be. All of that could come much later, but at least some sort of our first official on-camera update expected here at 10:30. And Amy, maybe you know this. We don't know who will be leading this press conference at this time, or do we understand that the governor will be there?
We don't know who for sure. I'm kind of thinking back to the last sort of the last violence that we had, where we had so many interagencies involved. Of course, the death of the Hortmans a couple of months ago, and just it's my understanding that it's the same sort of interagency response and protocol. So the governor led that one. I'm just thinking he might lead this one as well if he is even in town, available. I'm not sure, but I would anticipate that he would be part of this in some way, shape, or form.
And we did see the mayor there on the scene. Maybe about an hour or so ago. So potentially we could see them. We are getting some updates here of now just other schools responding to this. I know I had a friend who is a teacher, and their students don't start until next week, but teachers were there on campus getting ready, and they went on a short lockdown, just of course not really knowing the situation of what was going on. And now we're hearing from some St. Joseph Catholic school students, St. Thomas, other Catholic schools who say that they're just going to keep their doors locked out of an abundance of caution today. And these are even schools in St. Paul who are hearing this news, and just, again, we understand the shooter is dead. Law enforcement saying there's not an active threat to the public, but so many other places just taking a precaution. Even hearing from folks like the Brooklyn Park Police Department who are saying this, Brooklyn Center, Police Department, talking about how this deeply impacts the entire region. You see law enforcement agencies from surrounding cities coming to respond to this, but then it also just puts a lot of departments on edge of what could be next, preparing, and obviously as school starts for a lot of folks here next week, I'm sure it'll be top of mind for a lot of educators who see this happen and say, well, this doesn't happen here, or feeling some sort of safety. Now, a lot of kids will be heading to school next week off of this news, with obviously maybe some elevated concerns.
And Hannah, Ryan just let me know we got a little bit more information here. This is coming from the Associated Press, that 5 children are being treated right now. So that coming from the Associated Press, that 5 children are being treated. Our Nathan O'Neill has been staged outside of HCMC, where we believe that any victims had been taken, the trauma center there, and so we will bring you any information we can as it becomes available. But this is something that we haven't been able to report just yet, and this is coming from the Associated Press, that 5 children are being treated. So again, when we say the 20 victims, that was a report put out by the city of Richfield early on, that the officers were reporting 20 victims. That is a very wide-ranging description. We don't know, if 20 were hospitalized, that kind of thing, but just know that right now the Associated Press is reporting that 5 children are being treated after this school shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. And again, the shooter dead. There is no threat to the public, according to Richfield PD, which had to put out an alert early on before we knew that the shooter was dead, because this is an area that's nearby. Described the man reportedly at the scene as a man dressed in all black, armed with a rifle. The Associated Press, we know, called the office at Annunciation School shortly after these reports started coming in around 8:30, and whoever answered the phone said that they were evacuating the students. We know from further conversation that many of those students were gathered in a gymnasium at some point to then now be reunited with their family who have been for the last, I don't know, 45 minutes or so, been streaming in to pick up their children to take them home. Also a staging area nearby for those who are
waiting for the press
a little bit later as well. So these are the developments we have thus far. 10:30 here shortly. We will have a news conference with, we believe, law enforcement, perhaps the city, the governor, and then HCMC is actually holding a press conference, it looks like separately, at 11 a.m. And that's where we anticipate we'll get more information in real time on victims and conditions. At about 11 o'clock.
Of course, those initial reports is as many as 20 people potentially injured. That, of course, does not mean that they are critically injured. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were shot, but knew from the Associated Press that 5 children are being treated for some kind of something after this shooting. And just to recap our timeline a little bit, we understand that these students, it's a pre-K through 8th grade school. You're looking at the school portion right now in this video where you can see a lot of law enforcement there at the entrance. They just started school on Monday, so they've been in school for starting their 3rd day and were scheduled to potentially be in an all-school mass at 8:15 this morning, and then the first calls for a shooting, we understand from law enforcement, came in at 8:27 this morning.
We have a Rob Olson who has also now joined our coverage. Rob, let us know kind of where you are exactly and what are you seeing here as we are, about 2 hours now out from when the first calls came in?
We are at the corner of Garfield and 54th, so this is on the north side of the school, directly across from the school itself. The church sanctuary is just down on the other corner to my east here, and there's a large presence down there. It is down there where I understand that the news conference updating these events will be taking place here at around 10:30. But this behind me is what I believe to be right in there, the reunification zone that they established here between the church part and the school part here of Annunciation. So this is the school entrance. You can see the amount of police here. We're seeing Park Police, Minneapolis Police, obviously. A number of ambulances just to my right here. I can count 5 ambulances just to my right. And, we see here, too, as parents come to bring their children out. We've seen a number of those here, too, those situations with parents bringing their young children. And when I say young children, as you see, these are elementary-age kids predominantly that we're seeing being brought out of the school. Certainly emotional. Parents that we've seen are emotional. You can get through here if you need to.
Are you live?
Yeah, streaming, but we can. Okay. You can come through if you want.
The media staging area is actually on the other side.
Yep, the media staging.
And then at 10:30, there's going to be a media conference over there.
Yep. Okay.
If you go a block north and then head that way.
Yep. Media staging area.
Back to 54th, you see all the media stuff.
I'm just getting an update from Minneapolis Police about the media staging area being a block to the east, as I mentioned before, and then that's where the news conference update will be coming. As you've mentioned, we do have a crew down there already set up for that as well. But at this point, the activity that we see is predominantly a lot of Minneapolis police. You see some more folks going into that. I can't tell who those are wearing the camouflage up there. But going into the building, around the building, obviously a number of different agencies out here. We saw, information at the FBI responding to help out with this as well. And just an enormous law enforcement presence here at the north side of the school. Again, though, we've seen throughout the last half hour or so a number of parents bringing their young children out of the school. This is the reunification area for that, and clear emotion on some of the children's faces, and certainly some of the parents' faces as well as they come out of here. Some of them just with that look of shock. Some of them with more of a tearful look to them as well as they deal with the emotional ramifications here of what has occurred this morning at this school, Annunciation here in Minneapolis. This is a feeder school for Holy Angels. I talked to a parent who's got a daughter at Holy Angels who'd been here, but they have friends who are still here, and they're awaiting word for what is their situation, their condition, if they were involved in this at all. So, a lot of people that if they don't have kids here, they know people who do, or they know the kids who are here based on their personal connections.
Rob, this is Hannah Flood back at the studio. I just have a question for you. It looks like you're standing in front of the school portion of this property, and then behind you to the other side would be the church. Can you tell right now which building law enforcement seems to be having the most focus on? If they have folks over at that church, or it's mostly focused on that school building?
It appears to be both. I can't fully see the front of the church. Again, it is directly to my right over here. It is blocked by, like I said, 5 ambulances are here on the other side of several squad cars, sheriff's squad car, police car. There is I'm going to get out of the way here. There is a massive police and other law enforcement presence that is making its way towards this portion of the building, which again is the school portion of the building. And, it's unclear exactly what they are doing, but they are coming down here in force. I don't know if these are continuing to respond to something, or if these are people who had responded who are now no longer needed where they were. It is difficult to say, but you can see the number of law enforcement of all types that has responded here. We see Homeland Security, the presence here. That's what you see, HSI on the back of the vests that these folks are wearing. That's Federal Homeland Security that is part of this. There's ATF as well. There's the FBI, in addition to Minneapolis Police, Park Police. Here comes some more heavily armed Minneapolis police officers as well, going with this. Again, they are heading down to the east of this, so towards Lyndale Avenue. So it's hard to say exactly what they are doing now as part of this response or post-response. Certainly, though, again, we'll be getting an update here shortly from the main media staging area, which is just 1 block to my east, in front of the sanctuary here at Annunciation.
Thank you. Rob Olson out there in front of the Annunciation School and Church in South Minneapolis, where law enforcement's been responding to that active shooter threat. But again, we understand that the shooter is dead and that there's no immediate threat to the public. And it does look like we have some new information in here this morning just about the situation. Amy,
we do.
You've got that here.
I do. Reuters is reporting that they've been told by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, that 3 people are dead, and 1 is the shooter. So the Department of Justice, the Federal Justice Department, is telling Reuters news agency that there are 3 people who are dead, including the shooter. And we also were told by the AP that 5 children were being treated as well. So those, as far as numbers go, that is what we have. And again, we're going to be hearing, hopefully, as Rob said, in a couple of minutes from law enforcement and from city officials who will be able to tell us a little bit more. And then at about 11 o'clock, HCMC, the medical center where presumably victims were taken, it's a trauma center there nearby. They are going to be holding their own press conference at about 11 o'clock, and we'll get some more information. Yeah, what you're seeing here, I believe, is just our crew doing some interviews, and you're seeing just live feeds of
it looks like that's the staging area where they're going to be having that press conference, which is about a half a block away. This church and school kind of sits right in the middle of this block. And maybe, Ryan, back in the booth, we can take the map again, just to give people an idea here before this press conference starts about where exactly this is. But it's just west of 35W. This is in South Minneapolis. This is south of the chain of lakes, so it's really near the Richfield border. And you can see how close it is to Lyndale there. This church and school sits on the middle of this block. So we are on the what would be the eastern side of this for that media staging area where we're expecting this press conference to start soon. Again, now here we are about 2 hours, exactly 2 hours here from the first initial call of a shooting here. And again, you heard Rob talking about, we're not sure exactly which building this happened in. There's 2 buildings, at least 2 buildings on this campus, the pre-K through 8th grade school and then the actual church building that is next to it. And it appears that they are not connected, but are right next to each other. And we understand potentially, according to the school's online schedule, that students were at an all-school mass potentially at that time. So that's one of the questions that we're going to have, of course, for law enforcement once this press conference started, was did this happen in the school building? Did it happen in the church? But we do know from Richfield Police, they put out a statement saying a man dressed in all black, armed with a rifle, entered this area and started shooting. And now our latest information, the Associated Press saying 5 children are being treated. We don't know exactly what that means yet, the extent of their injuries, what exactly that could mean. But also now we have the Department of Justice telling Reuters that 3 people are dead, and that includes the shooter.
And Hannah, I just noticed here there's a statement from Katie Cashman, who is a council member in Minneapolis for Ward 7, which is located sort of on the western edge of Minneapolis, includes some parts of downtown. But this is a statement that she put out a short time ago, and she has some more information in here. And again, we'll get this confirmed with law enforcement. But she says this morning at Annunciation Church and Catholic School, someone shot and wounded multiple children and staff while they attended morning mass. At this moment, the shooter is contained. Our office is closely monitoring the situation and will share more information as it becomes available. I am absolutely horrified by the events unfolding this morning, and our office is here to support those who need it. This is a time to hold your loved ones close and check in with each other. As the day unfolds, please stay out of this area, 54th and Lyndale, to give space to emergency personnel and to families. And again, that's coming from Ward Council member Katie Cashman, Minneapolis Ward 7 council member, who put out that statement. So according to her information, children and staff were shot while they attended morning mass, and we've been talking a lot about
breaking news. There's another active shooter reported. Another one. What? They're saying this is in Tallahassee. Active shooter reported on Florida State campus in Tallahassee.
I'm trying to move my car.
Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that while we wait for the press conference. Oh my God. 2.
I could only pay for parking for 3 hours.
And mine's, it was either 2 hours or it was 12 hours. And I was like, I just did 2 for right now because I didn't know what was going to happen. Well, I mean, okay, now we're on this side. It's right here, so it expires 11:20.
Oh, they changed. Hold on. Did they change the shit? They changed the title. Hold on. Oh, they changed the title. Oh, they tricked me. I'm sorry. I thought it was some type of Tallahassee thing. They changed the title back to this thing. I was going to say, oh, shit. Okay, they're waiting on the press conference. I was about to say another one. Oh, my God.
Thank you.
We're waiting on the presser. Sorry, guys. Okay, I see you. We're moving, baby. Nah. Make it say, okay. So waiting on the press conference.
Traditionally, usually for the students, it's part of their curriculum, and staff members as well. So we'll find all of that out here, hopefully in due time. Right now, clearly just focused on these families being reunited with their children, those who have perhaps lost.
And they're saying 15 children hospitalized. Wow, 15 children hospitalized.
30 minutes ago, we were seeing a lot of those families reunited with students, taking them away from the scene, getting them out of there, presumably taking them home. And it looks like from a lot of our angles that that's not happening as much anymore, assuming that a lot of families have gotten to the school, gotten their student, and gotten out of there. So now we'll be curious to hear once this press conference starts. I'm sure a majority of this campus has been evacuated, getting folks who don't need that medical treatment out of there. Assume a lot of the staff and that has been sent home as well, kind of just clearing the way for this investigation to get underway, because even with the shooter dead, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of questions about timeline, about motive, about how exactly all of this happened. So now an opportunity for law enforcement on scene to do that investigation. And the law enforcement agencies we've seen out there today, a lot of state patrol folks out there. We're looking at a Minneapolis Park Police vehicle, which gives you an idea of just how many people responded. The FBI and ATF confirming that they have folks out there as well, the Minnesota BCA, and of course Minneapolis Police. And we've seen all kinds of tools out there. We've seen drones that were on the ground when we saw them, K9 units, some tactical vehicles as well. Sometimes these larger vehicles you're seeing what kind of looks like, I guess you could say, a bus there. Some of those larger vehicles are sometimes brought in as kind of a mobile crime scene unit where they can take and examine evidence. It's where some of the tools that they use as part of this investigation are housed. So a lot of times that's what these big trucks mean, is it's just taking kind of almost a mobile crime lab out to an area, but then also having an area where law enforcement can gather, have access to their computers, to have internet. So potentially that's one of those big vehicles that we're seeing. That's just kind of a law enforcement response, a crime scene response, kind of letting us know that they're going to be hunkering down for a while to do this investigation and collect a lot of evidence here as they're trying to piece everything together. 8:27 was when those first calls came in from this South Minneapolis school.
By the way, I heard Cardi B's in the middle of a trial. I only found out yesterday. I didn't realize. I guess one of the lawyers asked her if her hair is real.
Yesterday you had black hair, short hair. Today it's blonde and long. Which one is your real hair? Or are they both real?
They're wigs.
Oh. Okay. Sorry, I didn't know that. It's a good week today.
Oh, the had objection, relevance.
You know, the potential here was great, and since then we have learned 5 children treated at the hospital, and this is information coming from the Associated Press now.
Well, I'm saying 15
cross-checked with Reuters, who also has this confirmed, 5 children being treated, and then Reuters reporting that the Department of Justice has told them that 3 people are dead. One is the shooter. So we don't have any additional information on 2 of those other victims who, according to the Department of Justice, who has told Reuters, have died.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing Corin talk to some of the people in the neighborhood who heard that gunfire, and like you said, described it as a lot of gunfire, to the point where some people didn't even call it in, thinking there's no way that this is a shooting. That's too much gunfire. But obviously our reports now that there was a shooting here, that shooter now dead. And again, we saw the mayor run into that scene at just about maybe 9:15 or so this morning. So we'll be watching to see. I believe that man that updated us, that came up to the microphone and updated us that the press conference was running a bit behind, was communications for the city of Minneapolis. He told reporters to send their inquiries to them. So at this point, it looks like the city of Minneapolis, whether that's the mayor or the police chief, will be leading this press conference. We'll of course see, but we do know that there are some federal agencies like the FBI and the ATF there on the scene. There's one of the police K9s that they've had out there as well. I'm sure just securing the scene after they get that shooter down, it's not over. Of course, they need to make sure that that scene is safe and secure. And then we do understand that a lot of the kids were ushered into the gymnasium just shortly after the event started, so they could get a head count, see how everyone was doing, make sure people were okay. And then we saw a lot of parents coming to pick up their kids and getting out of that area, something that we've seen really quiet down now. So assuming that a lot of those families have been reunited or are together at the reunification area that police have set up, but not seeing as many of those students and families stream out of this area as we did before, giving us the sense that maybe it's cleared now and really opened up. It kind of just changes the course of what law enforcement is doing at this moment. There's of course the initial response. There's getting people the medical help that they need, getting them out of there so that they can clear these buildings, and now start their investigation, collecting evidence, piecing together the timeline and exactly what happened.
Annunciation Catholic School is obviously a private school, and we know that here in Minnesota, a lot of private schools, charter schools, get started a little bit earlier before the holiday, and so they started school on Monday, pre-K or K through 8. And again, Monday was their first day, And according to Ward Council member Katie Cashman, her statement says that this happened while the students and staff were attending church. And again, about 8:15 this morning, looks like they were scheduled to be in church in the building next door. And you know, if you think about if that is the case, and again, we haven't had that confirmed yet, but if that is the case, you think about the drills that these children go through, and if you have children, you know, they all go through it, unfortunately, in their classrooms. And at a school like this, you know, I guess I don't know if, you know, do they ever practice something in a church setting? Where would you go? Where could you go in that kind of a setting? And I would think that they probably would, as it is sort of part of the curriculum here of many of these
unfortunately,
these schools.
It's become too real that schools prepare for things like this.
If you think about what, you know, a church, a chapel setting is, it's a very wide open, vast space. And so thinking through kind of the environment and, you know.
So just waiting on this press conference, it seems like they're starting late. By the way, we have a press conference for Emmanuel Harrow later on today, so I have a live stream scheduled for that. But we're here waiting for the active shooter press conference. I guess it seems like they're delayed. Saying 2 dead. Per ABC News, 2 dead, 12 injured.
Test 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Loved ones who are at Annunciation should go to 55th and Lyndale. Staff from our victim services team will be on site. As information becomes available to our office, we will update the public and are here to support all of those in the community who need it. So just pointing out again, this is from Mary Moriarty, calling this a mass casualty situation. Our information from the DOJ via Reuters is that 3 are dead, including the shooter. So again, we're watching. This is where the press conference was set to start here at 10 o'clock. We were told it was running a little bit late, but hoping to get a little bit of clarification on that number, because of course we're hearing different numbers of people injured, people treated, and of course people who are dead, but can't confirm that includes the shooter in the city of Minneapolis, saying that they don't believe there's an imminent or immediate threat at this time because that shooter was taken down.
Just a little bit more information that you know, we can, I guess, try to piece together here as to where this may have happened. As I'm thinking about it, we know that Katie Cashman from District 7, a city council person, has said that, according to her statement, that the shooting occurred during Mass, which would have been the building next door. And then, as I'm thinking about it, the reunification area has been at the school, which to me was odd. When I first read it the first 3 or 4 times, I kept thinking, why would it be at the school that close? Usually it's at a location, you know, a block or 2 away. But that, you know, just kind of plays into what Council Member Cashman has said, that if it indeed did happen in the church during Mass, that the reunification area would be at the school as well. So we'll get information on all that shortly.
And also hearing that the kids were taken to the gymnasium, presumably in the school, kind of gives you an idea of the location where all of this happened.
So the update, they're saying 17 children shot, 2 killed. Wow. That's insane, man. Wow.
What, you know, is really, really important here to keep reiterating is that if you're in this area, just know this is the area in Southwest Minneapolis that we're talking about here, East Diamond Lake Road. And, you know, I'm trying to look at here. There's a Kowalski's right there nearby. Let's see, across the road is, let's see, there's a
lot of homes, really. I mean,
yeah, it's a pretty residential.
Lyndale there that has some of those businesses and things, but pretty residential. And we heard Corn talking about as he was talking to people in that neighborhood, and they were kind of realizing what happening. Some people were even going outside, looking in their yards, going, is there going to be someone running through here? It's something that I need to be aware of, to witness, to help police with all of this, kind of when they realized how serious this was. And we did know earlier, it looks like things are back open, but they did shut down that East Diamond Lake Road exit off of 35, at least for a while, to let those first responders and presumably families to get to that scene to kind of clear things up. Oh, here we have this is a live shot outside of HCMC in downtown Minneapolis, where we understand at least some of these victims have been taken. They are scheduled to start a news conference here at 11 a.m. We're kind of watching to see. We had that press conference scheduled at 10:30 this morning, live at the scene there in South Minneapolis. And they had gotten on the microphone and told us that they just needed more time to collect things. We do know that Mayor Jacob Fry is on scene there in South Minneapolis at about 9:15, 9:20 this morning. We saw him running up to the scene past the crime tape. So we do know that some city officials beyond law enforcement are there on the ground getting this information and could potentially be part of this update. And then we understand we'll also be getting some updates from the folks at HCMC. And Amy, as you well know, in these situations too, it becomes a big deal and a big emergency response for hospitals when something like this happens, because obviously they have potentially, some of our reports is potentially as many as 20 people injured, all of whom could have been brought to the hospital, and that starts a huge emergency response for those medical folks as well, who are trying to get all of these people the help that they need as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and that is, HCMC is the place where they are very used to, you know, level 1 trauma center. They're very used to dealing with these real-time situations. But this, you know, to think about the magnitude of this, the ripple effect here is just endless, and really hitting so many people, you know, hard on the spectrum, right? There are people who are so close to it. Kind of the next tier of folks is, I'm seeing here that there have been some Catholic schools in the area that just kind of went on almost a lockdown today, and just had their students inside today, even if they weren't in that area, out of this abundance of caution, because we know that this happened at a Catholic school. It's being reported that it happened. And so, again, the ripple effect here, you know, those children today will go home and you know, have to deal with this as well. As you know, this wasn't a practice. This wasn't something we were just, you know, going through the motions in case. This was a real situation. And so the conversations that may or may not have to be had with children, and then we have those students who still have to go back to school, you know, the public school children who have to go back here in next week. And
right, and just right now not having information on motive. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that this seemed to have happened, our report so far, during a mass at a Catholic school. So you see a lot of these other religiously affiliated schools just not knowing, you know, what a motive would be, exactly what's going on, and they're just taking an abundance of caution. And I mentioned earlier, a friend of mine who works at a school in the Brooklyn Park area, they even went on just a temporary lockdown that they then lifted, just not knowing exactly what was happening, and if there was any kind of threat. So like you said, a huge ripple effect.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if parents in other schools like this were taking their kids out of school today and just, you know, holding them close. This one really hits close to home.
Thankfully, we saw so many of those families reunited and able to take their little ones home. Again, this is a pre-K through 8th grade school. Another one of our questions for officials once these news conferences get started will be just how many kids attend this school. It's hard to say. You've got pre-K through 8. That could be hundreds of students. It could be more than that. So we'll be waiting to see how many of them were attending that mass. And then, of course, the question if other members of the public were there as well. When we hear about these injuries and are getting some of these numbers, they could include children, but also, of course, the school support staff, the folks who are working there at the church, who are in charge of the service and things like that. And then, of course, the number of people dead includes the shooter this morning, and we'll be asking what exactly did that look like. You mentioned, was that shooter killed via something self-inflicted? Was it law enforcement that quickly responded to the scene and was able to take them down? All of this playing into the story is exactly what happened at Annunciation Church this morning in South Minneapolis.
We're waiting for two press conferences. One, we're told, is still on schedule to start at 11 o'clock, and that is at Hennepin County Medical Center, HCMC. And then the other one is with law enforcement officials. We anticipate it's going to be at the scene. We've shown you the live shot there of the microphone, and we'll be waiting to see who speaks with us.
Both happen at the same
time.
We
are anticipating hearing a little bit more information about what happened. And again, very early on in this, I mean, it was a very quick response. The alerts came into our newsroom about 8:30 or so, and it looks like the calls came in at about 8:27. So we were alerted to it, started to get into place, sent our crews there, and as we were arriving, just about 9 o'clock or so is when we saw Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey literally, running to the heart of the scene through the perimeter to the heart of the scene. And we haven't seen, as you said, outside of that perimeter, we really haven't sensed a sense of heightened urgency. And so it makes sense at that point, likely somewhere, between 9-ish, 9:30 maybe. That's when things seemed much more calm on the perimeter, and perhaps it was at that point that they knew the shooter was down. I think we would have seen a lot more activity around the perimeter happening if they believed that the suspect was still out there. So
I think it was very telling seeing the mayor let in under the crime tape and into the scene. If there was an immediate threat of any kind, they would be keeping people like that back away from the crime scene tape. But even when our crews rolled up, right at 9 o'clock, right away, that you could tell that this was an elevated situation. Sometimes when these reports come in, and that's why you have to be so careful about some of these initial reports, that there'll be a shooting near a school. Okay, it was a block or a block and a half away, and it was totally unrelated to the school. It was maybe domestic situation or something between two people, so you never really know. But once we had our crews out there and we're seeing the images of the law enforcement response, when you see the state troopers and Hennepin County, when we saw the FBI there, that's when you understand that this is a much more elevated and urgent situation. But then we kind of saw the kind of scene where they're not responding to an immediate threat. It's kind of switches more to the investigation and to helping the injured.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you just, you see enough of this, unfortunately, in our business that you get a kind of gut feeling of the rhythm of the way these things work. And again, as we talked about earlier, sadly, law enforcement agencies, the interagency response is incredible. The work that they do, the way that they practice this down to the second to make sure that they are in place where they need to be in any situation. And again, this is the worst of it for them. And our thoughts are with all the first responders, those who are helping the families at this point. There's just so many people involved in a tragedy like this.
I'll go over some of the numbers that we have really here quick, because the Department of Justice is confirming through Reuters this number we keep seeing of a total of 20 people injured. Again, we don't know if that includes who exactly that includes, but a total of 20 people injured, which could include students, school staff, church staff. Okay, 20 people injured is the big picture of the number that we're getting from the DOJ via Reuters. The Associated Press reporting that 5 children are being treated. So we can make that assumption of the 20, at least 5 of them are children.
Okay,
and then the last number that we're getting here is 3 people dead, which includes the shooter. So presumably the shooter and 2 other people. Again, we don't know if those are adults or children or what their role would be in all of this, but a total of 3 people dead, 20 people injured, at least 5 of which are children being treated this morning. And this is all the initial information here from law enforcement coming out. But we've got our camera locked in on where this news conference was set to happen about 20 minutes ago. And you can understand it's in just a fluid situation. They want to make sure when they come out that they have the latest information of what they can give us. But I do want to just point out one more time, we saw, an hour ago, it was a much different situation out here. Amy, I think you'll agree with me when you were seeing those families reunified and leaving the scene. And it looks like a lot of that now is wrapped up. And I would assume a lot of those buildings now, it's really just law enforcement, city officials. We saw the fire department out there, EMS officials. But now they've gotten a lot of folks that they can out of there so that they can continue their investigation.
And I did write down the time at that point because so many things are running together. But just as we're looking at the timeline, so if the call came in about 8:27, it was about 9:40, 9:45 when we started to see the first families leaving that scene, which if you think about it is thankfully a relatively short amount of time.
It is, yes.
In a scenario like this. So that was about that timeline, and we saw parents who were kind of running up to the crime scene tape, and they were, you know, maybe being told a few things, but I didn't really see anybody able to go in until a little bit later, and then suddenly we just started to see them trickling out with their children, just about everybody holding their children's hand, walking them out, ages anywhere from, as you mentioned, like kindergarten all the way up to, we probably saw maybe 5th, 6th, 7th grade level aged children coming out of there. And just, again, that happening in real time and watching that and seeing them walk right past all of these cameras and folks, neighbors, concerned neighbors lined up on the streets just wanting to be there for them in some way, shape, or form. It was really, really heart-wrenching. Yeah. So many hugs, so many tears, people hugging the law enforcement officers who were also there lining the crime scene tape as well. It's been a really, really horrific and emotional morning. And here, I guess we're taking a look at some of the video I'm describing, just powerful images and something you don't forget.
No, I mean, and to your point, Amy, I mean, for these families and these students, between that 8:27 when the first call came in and this around 8:45 or so when they're being let out, I mean, it must have felt like eons for them. I mean, I can't imagine how slowly those minutes were ticking by. But when we take a look at the big picture, and Amy, as you said, unfortunately, when you kind of learn the rhythm or the way that things go, about an hour and 15 minutes after that first call came in, already letting those students leave is a sign to us, at least, that of what we're hearing from officials, that the immediate threat was tampered down pretty quickly, and they were able to get, we understand, a lot of the students from what we believe they were in the church for mass, get them to the school gymnasium to kind of regroup. Who knows, that could be part of their planned emergency response, but at least getting those kids out of there, getting them reunited with their families, and now getting all of them off of campus so that they can continue their investigation.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, this is video from a little bit earlier this morning. It was about 9:45 is when those families started coming out, and this is the live scene nearby where we are anticipating a news conference that will be happening. The mayor, I think, is starting to walk up, and the police chief, Brian O'Hara, and the Hennepin County Sheriff. We can see them right there. So as they approach the podium, again, the very latest, we understand 5 people being treated and 2 dead, 3 dead, including the shooter. Let's get some more information from the officials now. Mayor Fry.
Those families are suffering immense pain right now.
There are no words that can capture the horror your own and the evil of this unspeakable act. Children are dead. There are families that have a deceased child. You cannot put into words the gravity, the tragedy, or the absolute pain of this situation. We are a Minneapolis family. But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own.
Oh, we got double.
Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country. I'm so deeply saddened, and I'm so sorry to the families that I know are suffering right now. My ask is to everyone, stand by them. Love them. These families have forever been changed, and we've all been changed with them. We need to do everything possible to support them through this time. We have a family resource center that has been set up. I'm grateful for all of the law enforcement agencies from a number of different jurisdictions and all the different departmental support that we've received. They're going to be working tirelessly. There's also a family resource center that is being set up as we speak to make sure that we're there for everybody. Again, to the families that are suffering, to those that have experienced loss, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be with you every step of the way. We love you. This kind of act of evil should never happen, and it happens far too often. The chief will provide additional details.
My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N, O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. Earlier today, just before 8:30 a.m., our city experienced an unthinkable tragedy. Minneapolis police officers responded to a report of a shooting at a mass that was happening at the Annunciation Roman Catholic Church on the block behind me. This worship service was marking the first week of school for children that are attending the Annunciation Catholic School. During the Mass, a gunman approached on the outside on the side of the building and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the Mass. Wow. Shooting through the windows, he struck children and worshipers that were inside the building. The shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Wow. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible. Police officers from the Minneapolis Police Department immediately responded, entered the church, and attempted to provide first aid and rescue some of the children that were hiding throughout the building, while other first responders came and EMS responded to rush victims to nearby hospitals. 2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews. Their parents have been notified. 17 other people were injured, 14 of them being children. 2 of those children are in critical condition. The coward who fired these shots ultimately took his own life in the rear of the church. Our hearts are broken for the families who have lost their children, for these young lives that are now fighting to recover, and for our entire community that has been so deeply traumatized by this senseless attack. We will stand together to protect our children, our schools, and our houses of worship. This deliberate act of violence is just a sign of cruelty that is beyond comprehension. Our hearts are broken for everyone that's been affected by this tragedy. As we begin the difficult path of healing, I want the community to know this, that even in the face of such evil, the Minneapolis Police Department and all of our law enforcement partners stand with our community. We stand with these families and with this parish. We will continue to be here for you. With that, the investigation is obviously in its preliminary stages, and I will attempt to take some questions to provide further information.
Chief, what can you tell us about the suspect in this case? How old was he? Any kind of motivation? Any notes or any other information you might have left behind?
So we were looking, the question was, what can be said about the shooter? We believe it is one suspect, a sole shooter. We believe he is deceased. He is in his early 20s, does not have an extensive known criminal history. And we are looking through information left behind to try and determine some type of motive. Yeah.
How many kids have about
How many children? There were, I don't have an exact, the question was how many children at the school. There were dozens of children inside the mass at the time. I don't have an exact count. The children have been relocated into the school, which is where their families are reunifying with them.
Other than the weapons, was the shooter a student, former student? Was he a former employee? Do we know that?
The question was, do we know if the shooter was a former school employee or a former student? We don't have that information.
Did you leave anything behind other than the weapons?
There's a vehicle. The question was anything left behind? There's a vehicle that we believe that the suspect used that is being searched, and we will be conducting other searches related to this. Inside the parking lot here.
There was some neighbors who said that the door to the church had been barricaded.
Yep.
Is that correct?
So the question was, neighbors had said that the door to the church had been barricaded. The shooter approached on one side of the church building, and on that side, at least two doors, it appears there had been like a 2x4 placed. So not all of the doors around the building, but on the side where the shooter did fire.
And on the outside?
On the outside, yes.
Shootings related. Were there any explosives that were found?
The question was there any explosives? There were reports of that. There were no explosives or improvised devices that we found. I do believe there was one, I guess you would call it a smoke bomb, like not an explosive, but a sort of a firework that would release smoke.
And which side of the building? North, south?
The side that is closest to us, here, on this side, yep.
Incident related, so at these nearby homes?
I don't have specific information on that I can release.
Gunshot wound, the suspect?
Yeah, the question was, is he dead from a gunshot wound? The answer is yes. We believe he took his own life in the parking lot.
Was this outside or both inside that he was shooting?
The question was he shooting outside and inside? He was absolutely shooting outside of the building on the side of the church, inside through the windows. It appears he may have gone inside, but I don't believe we've located any casings inside the building. So I'm not certain if he fired also while inside. It appears, if not all, most of the shooting happened outside the building.
Shooting related to any other shootings that happened in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, Taylor's asking, is this related to any of the other shootings? This does not appear to be related to any other shooting in the city.
No, approximately how many rounds were fired?
The question was how many rounds? I would say it's in the dozens. We don't have an exact count. There's a sidewalk on the outside as well as a grassy area, so obviously we are going through and taking our time to process the scene.
Was he firing just one weapon, like the rifle, or?
The question was he firing one weapon? We believe he had fired all three. He had a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Were the weapons, was he lawfully carrying the weapons? I don't have that information. And I don't have any information on any significant criminal history either.
Was he dressed at all in any tactical type of gear or anything?
It appeared he had some black clothing on, his cargo-type pants. I guess you could interpret that as, however you like.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for helping us to get the information out today. We have a lot more work
questions?
that needs to be done. We will return back later today to provide more details as they become available, and we'll let you know how you can know about that in the moments to come. Thank you.
How can the public help?
A place of worship and church and prayer shot up by somebody with evil intentions, I guess. I don't know anything. We still don't, even though the suspect's down, they haven't named the suspect. I think they said he was in his early 20s, and that's about it. That's tough, man, especially if you're a parent where your kid was killed or injured. And during Mass, while prayer was happening, I guess some people would probably ask, why would God let something like this happen? But then I guess people would argue free will. I don't know what else. Free will. God gives free will, I guess. I don't know. Place of worship and church and children shot up like nothing. That's crazy. They're searching the shooter's vehicle, and the other shootings don't appear to be related. 2 days ago, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz attacked the National Guard deployments to stop crime. Today, a full Catholic children was shot up, a school shot up.
But what we have to be clear about is, don't take the bait. It boggles my damn mind that in the midst of a military takeover of our cities and the attempt to go into others, the flaunting of the rule of law, the cruelness and the unconstitutional nature of the way they're attacking our neighbors, that the press finds the need to talk about, oh, there's a division in the Democratic Party. There's a division in my damn house and we're still married and things are good. That's life. That's life. We are strong. We are strong because we challenge each other. We are strong because we're held accountable. We're strong because we believe that there's a place for everyone here. Think of how easy it would be to be a damn Republican. Oh, what should I wear today? This stupid friggin' red hat. What should I say today? I don't know. Just make sure it's cruel. Who do we listen to? That guy. Oh.
Well, I've never seen him this pumped up before. But I guess they were upset about the National Guard. Crazy, man. Yeah, it's pretty sad. I don't know what to think about all that stuff, you know. All right, I'm gonna jump off for now. I'm gonna take a little break. I'm gonna jump back on though for a press conference for Emmanuel Harrell, the baby that was murdered, still missing, parents arrested. I'm gonna jump on at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's when the press conference is supposed to start. I know there's some other people jumping on earlier, but I think I'm gonna need a little bit of downtime. I got a few things to do. So we'll come back at 1 p.m. Eastern, all right? And I'll redirect you guys to the